Team Shockwave from Nottingham are showing a good presence. Russell Blake and Ian Potter come herring down from the obelisk, closely followed by Adrian Hill. Now all those cups of water will disappear during the course of this race. The track that leaves the obelisk and comes down towards the staircase is in fact very deeply rutted, although it looks remarkably smooth from this camera angle. Now Jeffrey Rees is coming down to the hairpin out of the staircase, down through the cogs and pulls away. And he's closely followed by David Harmon, who's treating these bends with the greatest amount of respect. It's probably the first time most of these riders have pedalled after leaving the obelisk, and they're suddenly realising, some of them, that they're in the wrong gear. At the Outback catch-out, the spectators are waiting for the sports riders to entertain them as they pass through, some taking the challenge of the mud and some taking the bank. We've got Tony Bone dropping down into it, again taking it very carefully, closely followed by Paul Ainley. At the start-finish area, the sports riders are now finishing this heat, and of course the first 100 riders will be going through to the finals on Sunday. But some of the spectators are enjoying this fantastic surroundings and superb weather.
It got to be so damn tough.
In the mix.
The British.
In the mix.
The world.
In the mix.
The world. Number one.
Turn it up.
Get on up.
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 Turn it up.
The British.
Championships.
Check this out.
Turn it up.
The organisers pride themselves in running an exciting and injury-free racing event. However, there's always one or two who seem to run out of luck just when they need it most. Now, here's two likely-looking characters. What on earth happened to you?
Well, I was halfway up the Outback catch-out, pushing my bike on through the mud, and then I just stand there and I heard a click, and I fell back, my bike fell on me, then I looked down and my leg was sticking out of the knee socket, and so I shouted a couple of times, and then someone came down to help me, and I lay there for a little while until the paramedics came, and then plenty of gas was given, and I was put into the ambulance, and then rushed off to the hospital where they quickly snapped it back into the socket.
But was your bike okay?
Yep, I made sure it was okay before I went.
And how did you do it?
I was coming down, I came into the bomb hole, which I didn't even know was there, and because it was a bit dusty, and I came out there full of massive air. As I went past the crowd, I was looking over their heads, and then came down head first over the handlebars and cracked my collarbone, broken it. Rushed off to hospital, and just in time to hear his knee being put back in. That was it, really. The bike, though, being an orange, was completely unscathed.
So in that case, it's time to celebrate and wind down with aerobics, lake leaping, bunny hopping and partying. But first...
Do it.
Oh.
Do it.
Oh.
Do it.
Oh, I didn't do it. Let's do
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Oh, I didn't do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Oh. Oh.
I didn't do it.
Oh. Oh. Oh.
I didn't do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
And out on the lake there's a duck just about to be done like a dog's dinner. The lake leaping has just begun. The captain and his evil crew of marksmen and pirates out there on the lake are now marking each and every one of the scores as the riders leap into the water for all the crowd's entertainment. They're marking them for height and for distance, and the crowd is taking a very active approval of all the riders as they go through. And here's one of the contestants right now. He's trying to cajole the crowd to give him a bigger and more impressive public approval quota.
And so the sun rose on the finals day at the British Mountain Bike Championships at Malvern. By 10 a.m. the car park was filling rapidly and queues of over a mile long were reported at the gates. Over the 3 days, more than 10,000 people visited the event, and Sunday was by far the busiest day as many came to see superb riding by some of the world's greatest mountain bikers. First event of the day was the Fun Men. Of course, this final contains 150 riders. They've got 2 laps to do. That's another 8 miles. They did it yesterday in the heats, but today it's for real. And the adrenaline's pumping along with their legs as they work their way up towards the oak tree before moving round to the back of the lake to the My Cycles climb. Now, the next final to start starts 3 minutes later. That's the youth final. They too have got to do 2 laps. Again, 8 miles. And if you look closely, you've got the 3 winning riders actually on the front row of this race. You have to remember, of course, that these riders are all aged between 12 and 15 years, and between them, they represent the future of mountain biking. Right, we're going to leave the youth class for a moment and turn our attention to the start line once again, where a few moments later we've got the start of the Fun Women. That's 70 riders, 2 laps, 8 miles, the same as the 2 previous classes, and they're certainly out to prove themselves. And the front riders clear the grid easily, but the map markers have got 1 or 2 problems as they try and sort out their positions before entering this race in full swing. Now, this is the largest number of women riders ever entered in a fun category, and we'll see how they perform a bit later on in this video.
And over by the sheep pit now, we've got the first of the fun class riders coming towards us. And the rally colours, Jerry Angrave, just goes through the camera right there. It's very dusty out there at the moment. And more of the riders coming towards us, and I can see some of the youth class riders at this stage. It's about 80 degrees, they tell me. Jim Perkins I can see as well, actually, going through. As I said, it's about 80 degrees out there at the moment, and it's not predicted to be much cooler during the course of the day.
Well, how are the Fun Women getting on? Well, we've got Sarah Adams here, who's showing us how to dismount in a nice, clean, efficient manner. Take the bike round the dirty, soggy bit, jump over the dip, scramble up the bank, and away you go. She's closely followed by Sarah Shuttleworth, who's showing new riding techniques from women riders. First of all, she throws the bike on the ground, then she picks a shoe out of the soggy bit, places it in her mouth to attempt the climb. But no, she prefers it in the bog. Now, further down the catch-out, we've got another artful dodger who can't decide between the high road and the low road, but he successfully negotiates it without getting too soggy. We've got James Bennis there, who's decided to part company with his bike, throw it up and climb up afterwards. But now it's Joe Skelton, who's decided there's only 1 puddle on the whole course, and he is going to go through it. There you are, it can be done. And now down to Greg at the start-finish.
At the completion of the first lap, the lead riders in the fun class are hammering down through the start-finish, showing that they've got lots and lots of energy left in those legs yet. Over by the roller coaster, young William Cogger goes past us, and I wonder what's happening with some of the other riders. Here's one coming now. I wonder how he feels.
Oh, I'm having fun, I tell you.
Well, there you go. He's having fun. Well, I'm having fun as well. Anyway, here we're going down through the staircase now, and a few of the women riders are coming towards us. Right here in front of us, Sarah Howard, 1563, and behind her I can see Anne Castle. She looks like a picture of concentration. Meanwhile, down at the Outback Catch-Out, we've got some very interesting riding techniques. There's a man proving that his ground controls have lost control as he aquaplanes across the bog and manages to get up the bank in a bit of a scrambling fashion. More riders deciding to take the low road as opposed to the high road, and that was David Broniman, and he was the eventual winner in this class, and there's quite a decent amount of technique there as well. And there's young Robert Thackeray, who was the 3rd place in the youth category as well, riding for the Bike UK team. And now we've got Karen Priest and Sarah Cartmell. Remember, Sarah Cartmell was first in this class, and she's just making it up the bank right now. Well, that concludes the racing in the fun men, women and youth categories. Let's see how the top 8 riders in each class finished. Junior category right now, and down there in the middle of the front row of the grid, Richard Thackeray in the all-yellow stripper of the Pace Research team, and he's off and really racing from the start. Naturally, he's got the eye on that British Championship jersey And of course, there's a lot of other riders out there willing to take it off him today. And here they go, streaming away from the start. And meanwhile, back at the starting line, I've got Bob.
Yes, thanks, Greg. As the junior riders make their way over to Cannondale Ridge, we've got the sportsmen. That's 200 riders starting off for a clean start. They've got 4 laps to do today. That's 16 miles as opposed to their 3 laps yesterday. And they're certainly all out to impress and win some very, very valuable and natty prizes. Within minutes, you can see they've spread themselves out over 200 or 300 metres. And if we look over now to the My Cycles climb, we can see just what it's like to be riding in a race with 200 cyclists. Now back to the start area, we've got Greg with the sportswomen.
Right, the sportswomen are off now on the first of their 3 laps of this course. That's a total of 12 miles. And in the front row of the grid, I saw Helen Edmonds, who was to do very well in the finals of this event. And going over the top of the tabletop right now, John Samways, and right behind him are other riders from the GA team. Looks like it doesn't prove so difficult as the race wears on. These guys seem to have lots and lots of ability and certainly a great deal of technique. It's certainly warming up here, I can tell you right now, and lots of riders are starting to sweat profusely as they make it up to this section. The riders at the back of the course are going just a little bit slower. At this point, that was the junior class riders going through, and now we've got the sports class riders really filling in the rest of the echelon behind those riders. As it gets a little crowded on that point, people jump off. Meanwhile, here we go. That's Richard Thackeray there. He's the eventual winner of this event, and behind him, Paul Lazenby, right on his tail. 2 of the best riders at the event during the course of the weekend. Ben Dale and Alan Gunner going through as well, picking the high route and the low route, and both of them through very, very comprehensively around that section. And here's another rider who's decided to run it up there, and he gets back on very quickly indeed. This rider is really straining on the bars, putting on a great performance, and the crowd appreciates that, and they give him a big hand as well. And here we go. Whoa, that was Mick Daly nearly cleaning us up just then in the camera position. And right behind him, Glenn Turner, riding for the Rocky Mountain crew, and he's over the top of that little rise. No problems whatsoever, he just jumps it up. There goes Mark James, riding in the Team Z clothing. That's the clothing from the French children's wear company. And 2 more riders nearly collide, and this one goes face down. That's a GA Cycles rider as well. Very big team, the GA Cycles team from Southampton. Anyway, the dust is rising on the course. A lot of the riders are really going for it, and there's one who just decides to go off into the crowd. Maybe he's heading off down to the pub for an early beer.
The sportswomen are doing well coming through. There's Helen Edmonds coming through the bomb hole. She's closely followed by Angela Hunter, who's proving her capabilities there. There's Tracy Hardcastle, and close behind her is the eventual 5th place, Rachel Gamble. Further 200 metres down the course, we've got the Outback Catch-Out, and there's Helen Edmonds as she comes round the soggy section to pull herself out. I know that's Helen Edmonds because I'm actually cycling right behind her and commentating at the same time. In 2nd place, we've got Angela Hunter, who recovers after a fall, and she too pulls herself out successfully from the catch-out. Close to the camera there, we've got Adrian Sidford. She's just come through, and there's Tracy Hardcastle riding in the distinctive Fisher Mountain Strip.
So to finish the racing, the last riders head down Juggler's Drop, a real fast descent into the start-finish line. Let's have a look at the final results in the sports men, women's and the junior categories.
The Outback MyCycles Malvern Hills Classic has been 3 days of fun, entertainment and the best in competitive mountain biking. The grand finale is about to begin to decide the UK national men and women's champion for 1991. We gathered together the hot favourites and asked them for their opinions and views on how they saw their own particular race.
It's quite hard on a course like this. There could be like a group of 4 or 5 riders together on the first couple of laps, and then it starts splitting up after a few laps. But then there again, myself or Tim might make it hard right from the gun and just like split it up early doors.
Well, I'm pretty confident. I've missed a bit of training through my injury, but everybody knows about that by now. But I seemed to be going all right last week, and I was going all right the 2 weeks previous to that, so all systems go.
It's a bit difficult. It's quite a long race, so, you know, if things do split up, there's always mechanical trouble. With it being 7 laps and such a, you know, a little bit tricky work on it and everything, I think, you know, if you do have mechanical trouble, the basic just to stay out of trouble and keep on going, keeping a reasonable pace going all the way around.
Not necessarily too fast on the descents to try and not punch
it. And just pulling things back, basically, you know, staying out of trouble is, you know, a big thing.
I think it'll be extremely competitive. I think it's going to be a survival of the strongest at the end of 5 laps. But hopefully it'll be a close race. I mean, there's a lot of very good girls up there now, and it should be quite exciting for spectators.
Tim Gould and Davey Baker, in theory, should be going for first place, and then it's more of a battle for 3rd place. But you never know, if they're going for first and second, then maybe I can capitalise on the competition between those two.
Well, I haven't been here long, but what I can see so far is really good. Last year was a very good event, and it's been put on by the same people, the same place, so I'm sure it'll be even better with the added prestige of a national championship.
Right, this is the big one, the race for the British National Mountain Bike Champion for 1991. And already David Baker has shown a clean pair of heels to the rest of the riders on the front grid. Beside him we've got Gary Howell, and beside him again, Tim Gould. It's been a great race already, and already these riders are starting to spread out a little bit, and we can see them now as they pass through this stream in Giro Drop, heading up to the MyCycles climb. And on the MyCycles climb, we've got Dave Baker, but right beside him there's that Gary Howell again from Olympia Condor. He's overtaking him on this stiff climb, and behind them Barry Clark as they head up towards the top and the rounding point onto Cannondale Ridge. Just coming into shot now, you've got Paul Hinton making a strong 2-3-4 showing for Rally. Well, the positions have changed just slightly now at the drink station, and already Tim Gould has moved into 4th position.
Down at the start of the expert men, they're well away, and they're away fast. A few well-known names we can see in there. There's Ben Wilson, James Hardy, who won the downhill slalom on Friday, Kevin Clark, Steve Hume, last year's winner, and there's Mark Gornall there from Manchester Wheeler rider, who I believe is a frequent winner of the Star Trophy events. So we'll see how he performs today. They've, of course, got 5 laps to go. That's 20 miles on this tough course, and plenty can happen in that time. So let's hand back down to the start for the start of the Masters race.
Right, here we go, and away they start already, and the big hot favourite out there, no doubt, is going to be Mick Ives. He's done it just about every year now. Mick's riding for the Scott Tourlake team, but Alan Winters has started very well as well, and as has Mel Haig. Now, they're already going down through the Giro Drop and be heading up very shortly on the MyCycles climb. Behind them again, we've got the start of the Veterans event. Now, the Veterans are riders up to 50 years of age, and this is a very big field here indeed, and probably the biggest field in the UK. The big hitters out there today, Dave McMullen riding for Cycle Systems and Les Lloyd for Overbreeze.
And the elite women are away. Very strong field this year. Caroline Alexander's had a very good year so far, so she's feeling like a bit of a hot favourite.
See the first of the elite riders coming through, and that was Barry Clark for Team Rally, leading out a rather strong competition from Tim Gould and David Baker, side by side once again, and both of them not giving any quarter. Now moving back across now to Mudcam, and we can follow the rider ahead of us and see some of the actions that's necessary to get you up this rather tough and stiff climb. You can see the legs of the rider turning over ever so slowly. It's a very steep climb indeed. Even the hardened elite riders will find it hard going on Commodore. Gould, however, is best known as a climber, and if he's going to get away, he'll do it right here. Still, there's lots of life left in those legs looking at those riders coming up towards us right now. There's a whole mixture of riders, both from veterans and masters categories. Coming towards us right now in the red, as you'll see, is Alan Winters. Now, Alan's going to do very well overall in this event, and we believe he's going to come in the top 5. Going past us there, we've got Oscar Hopkins, and right behind him, the old stager, Tom Eisel. Right, we're going to pick the action up now at the bomb hole, and the first man through is Tim Gould, keeping his wheels pretty close to the ground, although still got a little bit of air at that point. Now, these expert and elite class riders are so good, but it's no need to take air, it just loses time, so they try and stay on the ground as much as possible. You don't get much action over here if you're a spectator. You don't find these guys falling off very often. Well, that's all part of being a good bike rider.
It has to be said, I think, that everybody is amazed at Tim Gould's recovery time from a broken collarbone. It seems only 2 or 3 months ago that he had that accident in America, and he's certainly performing now, lapping all the expert riders ahead of him. In second place, we've got Barry Clark, closely followed by David Baker in third place, and then in fourth place we've got Paul Hinton with Fred Salmon bringing up the rear for Peugeot. Of course, Rally Team are showing very, very strong at the moment in Rally Team formation. The lead group of expert riders coming up towards us. There's Stuart Marshall there riding for the Magnum Race Team, Tim Flukes, Mark Gornall, he's riding in the blue and white, Steve Hume in the yellow, he eventually comes in third place, and there's Jason McCroy and Dave Smith pulling up behind him. Not far behind them are another group of riders. There's Roy Brown and Chris May going through, and a bit further down the field we've got some riders there, including Andrew Begg and Martin Lander. They're probably at one of the most awkward parts of the track at the moment. As they take the top part of the My Cycles climb there onto the Cannondale Ridge, there's a southerly breeze that hits them straight in the face, and if they're starting to feel a bit weary, then that's the place it will really slow them down.
Approaching Giro drop now, we've got Rufus Sidford and Graham Boutel going through. Graham riding in the vet category and Rufus in the experts. Well, Rufus is going to pick up the wooden spoon, I'm told. He's the last man in the experts category today. Meanwhile, up at the front, there's Tim Gould once again, looking as fresh as he was when he started the event 4 laps ago. Lots of action still taking place, and we're looking forward to seeing the next of the riders through in this category, and there he is. It's Fred Salmon, Tim Gould's teammate. What's ever happened to David Baker and Barry Clark? Well, rounding the lake now by the Commodore climb, we've got 2 Masters class riders coming towards us, having a really hot battle. Remember, of course, these guys are over 50 years of age and up to just about any age. Coming into view now, Sally Hibbard. Yes, she's leading the ladies category in the women's elite class and doing it in fine style indeed. She's well away from everyone else. Right, coming in the sight right now, Francesco Gamadoni. Yes, an Italian from Wales, of all places, riding in the colours of Schmooze Cycles. He's given it heaps up Commodore climb. And there's Mike Evans. He's a vet. He's taking on some fluid. I'm sure he needs it. It's been really warm out there today. And 2 more riders coming towards us. These are expert class riders. Looks like in the second place in the yellow, Alan Knight, yes, riding for GA Cycles. And coming into view right now, we've got 7017, that's Ray Claridge, and behind him, Martin Lander. They're both moving pretty freely, as are these riders now coming into view. Seems quite amazing that at the end of this event, after almost 20 miles by these guys, things are going so well for them.
And after 7 laps, there's Tim Gould going down on his final descent. And would you believe it, Sally Hibbard finishing on the same lap. Now, there's a bit of coincidence for you. Sally Hibbard looking remarkably fresh after 5 laps, 20 miles of gruelling pace. She's kept a very, very good lead over the second and third place riders. So she too is going down for a final descent. And this is what it can be like from a low angle. Look at the speed these bikes get up to. A lot of controls needed as they rattle round the bends and down that final juggler's drop before the left-handed bend to the finish area. So now let's just follow in Tim Gould with Mudcam and see just what it's like to finish and become a British champion. His arms are raised, the crowd's going wild, listen to them, all roaring his praises as he pulls in there down to his sponsors and his teammates, all patting him on the back and congratulating him on such a fantastic ride. And here's Sally, she's coming down to the finish line too. Quick bunny hop, Sal. Well, perhaps not Jez Avery, but she's working on it. And she's going to be wearing the much coveted British Championship jersey for the next 12 months. And I'm sure she's going to feel extremely proud. She's proved her worth on this extremely tough course over 5 grueling laps.
It'll be 15 minutes before the last of the competitors are through the finishing line, but we must say that it's been a tremendous day for all those who've ridden. I'm sure even though they cross the line now,